From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday left for Phnom Penh for a state visit aimed at strengthening Philippine-Cambodian trade relations, advancing cooperation against transnational crime, and seeking support for the country's Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN chairmanship in 2026. The President's plane departed from Villamor Air Base in Pasay City with First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos and key cabinet officials. President Marcos is visiting Cambodia upon the invitation of King Norodom Sihamoni. The chief executive will hold talks with Senate President Hun Sen and Prime Minister Hun Manet, meet with Filipino and Cambodian business leaders to deepen trade and investment cooperation and address the Filipino community in Phnom Penh. In his pre-departure statement, President Marcos said the visit will build on Hun Manet's February trip to Manila and provide an opportunity to diversify cooperation in defense, agriculture, commerce, and heritage preservation. The Philippine president also underscored the centuries-old friendship between Filipinos and Cambodians, noting the presence of about 7,500 overseas Filipinos in Cambodia and the government's scholarship support for Cambodian students in science and technology fields. The visit, the first by a Philippine president to Cambodia in nearly 9 years, reaffirms Manila's commitment to ASEAN centrality and its readiness to foster a progressive and inclusive region. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla, and Agrarian Reform Secretary Conrado Estrella III were designated as government caretakers during the president's trip abroad.
At the invitation of His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni, I will be embarking on a state visit to Cambodia today. This visit builds on Prime Minister Hun Manet's visit to Manila in February earlier this year. We have seen dynamism in the partnership between the Philippines and Cambodia across key sectors. These sectors include defense and security, trade, agriculture, heritage preservation, amongst others. So during my visit, I will discuss ways to further diversify our cooperation and strengthen our intra-ASEAN relationships and exchange by capitalizing on our complementary strengths in the face of global economic headwinds. To this end, we will discuss expanding our commercial relations and building more resilient value chains. Through intensified defense and security cooperation with Cambodia, we hope to uphold a peaceful, stable, and resilient ASEAN community.
Soon after his departure, the Philippine President and First Lady arrived in the capital city of Phnom Penh to embark on a 3-day state visit to the Kingdom of Cambodia. This is the President's second trip to the Southeast Asian neighbor since his first visit to Cambodia in November of 2022 for the 40th and 41st Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN Summits and related summits. It reinforces the Philippines' long-standing people-to-people ties with Cambodia. Welcoming the first couple are officials from the Philippine Embassy, led by Ambassador Flerida Ann Camille Mayo. The President Marcos's state visit is a reciprocal gesture following the official visit to the Philippines by Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet last February. Formal diplomatic relations between the two countries were established on August 20th, 1957.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, on the first day of his state visit to the Kingdom of Cambodia, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. met with fellow Filipinos during a community gathering in Phnom Penh. The president recognized the essential role of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs play in strengthening economic and diplomatic ties between the Philippines and Cambodia. In a speech at the Sofitel Hotel, President Marcos acknowledged the significant contributions of Filipinos in Cambodia, recognizing their key roles in schools, hospitals, businesses, and major infrastructure projects including the construction of Cambodia's new international airport. The chief executive emphasized that their presence stands as a testament to the excellence and dedication of the Filipino people. President Marcos also reaffirmed the government's commitment to uplift the lives of every Filipino, not just abroad, but also those in the Philippines.
Higit sa lahat, ay patuloy natin tatalakayin sa Cambodia ang pagpapatibay sa kaukulang proteksyon at kagalingan ng mga migranteng manggagawa. Tayo ay nakikipagtulungan sa Cambodia upang sama-samang lumago ang ating ekonomiya. Hihiyakatin natin ang kanilang mga negosyante na maging masigasig sa pag-invest at pagnenegosyo sa mga kumpanyang Pilipino upang naman patuloy na yumabong ang ating ekonomiya. Kasabay nito, ang gobyerno ay patuloy na maglilingkod upang masuklian ang inyong mga tulong at sakripisyo. Kung kaya't naatasan ko si Secretary Kakdak na magbukas ng Migrant Workers Office dito ngayon sa Phnom Penh. Gagawin ito sa lalong madaling panahon upang maging katuwang ang ating embahada sa pagsulong ng inyong kapakanan at para ipagtanggol ang inyong mga karapatan. Hindi natatapos ang ating tungkulin na paniguraduhin maayos ang inyong kapakanan habang nasa ibayong bansa. Sapagkat sa ating mismong tahanan ay patuloy natin sinisikap na mapaunlad ang kalidad ng buhay ng ating mga kababayan. Ito ang pakikipagbahagi ng pamahalaan upang patuloy na kilalanin ang inyong pagsisikap. Sa tulong ng ating kabinete, asahan ninyo na lagi kaming magpupunyagi na maingat at maiangat ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino upang isang matatag, maginhawa at panatag na bagong Pilipinas ang sasalubong sa inyong pag-uwi.
This is the second time President Marcos Jr. met with the Filipino community in Cambodia. The first community gathering took place in 2022 when the president was in the country to participate in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN Summit and related summits chaired by Cambodia.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meantime, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday hailed Alex Ayala for becoming the first Filipino to capture a Women's Tennis Association or WTA singles title, vowing continued government support for Filipino athletes. In a social media post, the president said Ayala's victory is the nation's victory as well. President Marcos said the government will do everything to enable more Filipino athletes to follow Ayala's footsteps and showcase the skill and heart of the Filipino on the global stage. The 20-year-old Ayala is already the country's most accomplished tennis player, with multiple junior Grand Slam doubles titles and a strong presence in the international circuit. She ruled the Guadalajara 125 Open Final at the Pan American Tennis Center Hardcourt in Zapopan, Mexico, defeating Hungarian Pana Udvardi 1-6, 7-5, and 6-3 early Sunday morning.
Dateline Malacañang.
An upset and teary-eyed Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. slammed the injustice that good and hardworking Filipinos are experiencing while some amass ill-gotten wealth. In a teaser for the 4th episode of his podcast on Saturday evening, the president said he is very upset at how some commit illegal acts at the expense of others.
No, because I see people having a hard time. And and they don't deserve it. Mabuti mga kung masamang tao yan. Dapat parusahan. Hindi naman eh. Walang ginawa yan kundi magtrabaho. Kundi mahalin ang pamilya. Ba't mo paparusahan? Para magpayaman ka? That makes no sense to me.
Investigation into government projects, particularly the construction of flood mitigation structures, is underway following the discovery of alleged irregularities. Alleged ghost flood control projects were also exposed amid the ongoing investigation and site inspections. President Marcos has ordered a sweeping review of the proposed 2026 budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, to ensure there are no double entries or unauthorized insertions.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. decried the deeply rotten corruption in public infrastructure projects, but said he has no regrets becoming chief executive as it gives him the chance to fix systematic ills. In his latest podcast released Sunday, the president said revelations of long-running anomalies have kept him awake at night, describing them as kalawang at bulok, or in English, rust and rot, that have plagued projects for decades. Still, President Marcos said he has never once regretted running for president despite the enormity of the problem, particularly corruption. The chief executive said his priority now is to hold culprits accountable and repair the system, as Malacañang prepares to issue an executive order creating an independent commission to investigate alleged anomalies in flood control projects. President Marcos also highlighted the recently launched Sumbong sa Pangulo, or in English, Report to the President website, which has so far received over 12,000 complaints covering various infrastructure projects. The President described the platform as very effective in giving the public a direct channel to report wrongdoing.
How did the system evolve? So it became like this. It did not happen overnight. This happened over many decades. And we have to figure out kung ano ba talaga ang nangyari para hindi na mangyari ulit, to put the safeguards in place, which if it requires legislation, if it requires restructuring the government, lahat yan kailangan natin gawin. Pero kailangan natin malaman kung paano tayo, ako, nasasyak ako, hindi ako makapaniwala na nandito na tayo na ganito na ang gobyerno, na paano tayo nagkaganto dahil pinabayaan. And what can we do? What we can do is to find out how this happened, who are the people that are involved, make them answerable for their wrongdoing, and fix the structure so this is not allowable. Talagang hindi ako makatulog pag iniisip ko, paano tayo nagkaganto? Since we created the website, we have 12,000 plus already reports that are coming in. And these reports, hindi lang ito...
Hindi lang flood control projects.
Hindi lang. May mga paving, mga road widening, maraming dumadating. Of course, it was supposed to be, we started talking about only flood control. Pero siyempre, nagkaroon ng tao ng line of communication sa akin na para makapagreklamo sila, ginagamit talaga nila. That has been very effective. And that's why I encourage everybody. Tuloy, lahat ng hinihikayat ko kayo lahat. Pagka meron talaga kayong gusto ireklamo ninyo. No, I'm not disheartened, I'm not disappointed. I get very, very angry. How can you do this to people that have worked every day of their lives? Walang ginawa ito kundi magtrabaho.
nagsakripisyo ng mahirap for very little. Just to be able to send money home, just to be able to feed their family, send their children to school. That's all they want in life. Kukunin nyo pa sa kanila yon para bumili ng Rolls Royce. There's hope. Have hope. We've seen all of what people are complaining about or having to live with. Yung kailangan ninyong pagtsagaan, pagtiisan na araw-araw niya mga buhay. Alam namin yun. At lahat ng aming gawin, na kayang gawin, ginagawa namin. Who's more important? Your friend, your political supporter, or every single ordinary Filipino citizen? Who's more important? To me, it's the Filipino citizen. Nobody is more important than Filipinos. Nobody, not one person is more important. Not me, not anybody is more important. Whatever it is that's going to be good for Filipinos, you sacrifice that for the Filipinos. That's what being a good Filipino means. You make sacrifices for the country, you make sacrifices for your people.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang over the weekend said some lawmakers are deliberately trying to shift the blame to the executive branch instead of taking responsibility for their own corruption and failures. In a statement, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said the cabinet strongly objects to recent spins coming from certain members of the House of Representatives. Bersamin's statement came after party leaders at the House of Representatives earlier recommended the return of the 2026 National Expenditure Program or NEP, which contains the proposed 6.793 trillion pesos for next fiscal year. The House leaders already dropped the plan to send back the 2026 NEP to the Department of Budget and Management or DBM and instead agreed to let concerned agencies correct the flagged items in the proposed budget. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. earlier ordered the sweeping review of the line items in the Department of Public Works and Highways or DPWH's proposed budget for 2026 following concerns over double entries and project insertions. DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman and DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon on Wednesday vowed to address the issues surrounding the budget plan on or before the set 2-week deadline, saying corrections to the 2026 NEP will be coursed through errata. Amid the review of the DPWH's spending plan, Bersamin advised House lawmakers to clean their house first.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has signed Republic Act or RA 12252, which amends the Investors Lease Act or RA 7652, allowing foreign investors to lease private lands in the Philippines for up to 99 years. Previously, the law only permitted long-term leases for a maximum of 50 years, renewable once for an additional 25 years. Under RA 12252, signed on September 3rd, the President may impose a shorter lease period for investors engaged in vital services or industries deemed as critical infrastructure in the interest of national security or national development. The measure requires that foreign investors hold an approved investment and comply with regulations set by the appropriate investment promotion agency. In the case of tourism projects, the lease of private lands is limited to projects with an investment of not less than $5 million, 70% of which must be infused in said project within 3 years from the signing of the lease contract. Contracts may be terminated if the investor fails to begin the project within the same period. The law also clarifies that foreigners, associations, or partnerships not investing in the Philippines are still covered by Presidential Decree Number 471 and other existing laws on lease of lands to foreigners. This means these individuals and entities are only allowed to lease private lands for a maximum of 25 years, renewable for another period of 25 years.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has signed laws establishing a high school for sports and a medical center in the provinces of Bataan and Aurora respectively. President Marcos inked Republic Acts or RAs number 12239 and 12240 on August 29th, copies of which were published at the official Gazette on Friday. RA 12239 creates a high school for sports in Bagak, Bataan to be known as the Bataan High School for Sports as part of efforts to advance the athletic talents and improve the skills of the youth. Under the law, the school will be administered and supervised by the Department of Education or DepEd in close coordination with the Philippine Sports Commission or PSC and the National Academy of Sports or NAS. The school will implement a secondary education as prescribed by RA 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education of 2013 to learners with considerable potential in sports. The school is mandated to formulate and implement policies, plans, and programs, provide an integrated framework, and establish sports programs and facilities for its learners. It is directed to promote strategic partnerships and alliances with local and international sports organizations and educational training institutions to enhance the competitiveness of learners and personnel. The law also orders the crafting of plans and programs for the career development of school personnel, as well as the establishment of guidelines for public-private partnerships in the implementation of sports programs. The initial funding for the operationalization of the Bataan High School for Sports will be sourced from the province's Schools Division Office. The funding requirements for the continued operation of the school will be included in the Annual General Appropriations Act. RA 12239 directs the DepEd in coordination with the PSC, the NAS, and the local government to promulgate the implementing rules and regulations within 90 days after the law takes effect. Meanwhile, RA 12240 establishes a Level 3 General Hospital in Baler, Aurora to be known as the Aurora Medical Center. The hospital, which will be under the direct control and supervision of the Department of Health or DOH, will have a capacity of 200 beds. The Secretary of Health is directed to include the funding requirement for the creation of the new hospital in the DOH's program.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. also signed laws declaring special working and non-working holidays in 6 localities nationwide. The holiday declaration was contained in Republic Act or RA numbers 12246, 12247, 12248, 12249, 12250, and 12251, signed by the President on August 29th. RA 12246 declares March 7th of every year as a special working holiday in the island garden city of Samal, Davao del Norte, in commemoration of its foundation day. Under RA 12247, September 18th is declared a special working holiday in Bansalan, Davao del Sur in observance of its founding anniversary. June 15th of every year is a special non-working holiday in General Santos City to commemorate its charter anniversary according to RA 12248. RA 12249 declares June 24th as a special working holiday in Balayan, Batangas for the celebration of the Parada ng Lechon, a a colorful parade of lechon or roasted pigs. According to RA 12250, a special working holiday will also be observed in San Juan City every August 30th for the annual observance of the Battle of Pinaglabanan, widely regarded as the first major battle of the Philippine Revolution against Spanish colonial rule. September 21st is also proclaimed a special working holiday and Araw ng Bayan ng San Mateo in San Mateo, Rizal to celebrate its founding anniversary under RA 12251. Under the laws, the President may issue a proclamation declaring a special non-working holiday in areas where a special working holiday has been set.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. also signed into law measures establishing 5 new regional and 2 new municipal trial courts in Cebu, Cagayan Valley, and Davao Region. President Marcos signed Republic Acts or RAs 12242, 12243, 12244, and 12245 on August 29th. A regional trial court or RTC is established in Alicia Isabela through RA 12242. 2 in Mati City, Davao through RA 12243, and another 2 in Ilagan City and Tumawini Town in Isabela through RA 12245. RA 12244 also creates 2 municipal trial courts or MTCs in Tagum City, Davao del Norte Province. The laws mandate the Supreme Court to assign the branch members of the newly created courts. The RAs also order the Chief Justice, in coordination with the Secretary of the Department of Justice, to ensure the immediate inclusion of the operationalization of the additional RTC and MTC branches in the court's program. The Supreme Court is directed to issue the necessary rules and regulations for the effective implementation of the laws. The funding requirements for personnel services, provisions for halls of justice or courtrooms, and creation of prosecutor positions will be included in the annual General Appropriations Act. The funds necessary for the operation of the courts will be appropriated and released upon their actual organization and appointment of personnel. The new law takes effect 15 days after publication in the Official Gazette or in a newspaper of general circulation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.